go in dancing and then like I'm shocked when it goes live. I'm like, oh my gosh. Look.
I know. Well, it's so funny because we were just talking about karaoke and music, and so the music comes on, and I'm like, I'm about to just like rip it up over here. Yep.
Oh, so fun. Hi.
Hi, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Oh, you know what? I had cute little ears with hearts on them. I don't even know where they are, but happy Valentine's Day.
I have roses with splatter.
Hey, Beauty and the Beast, babe.
Yeah, you know, I'm down with the Beast Man. He was a real one.
He was. I think I'm married. I personally think I'm Belle and my husband's Beast, but we should probably welcome everybody because
we should. Hey guys, I'm so glad you're
here. Welcome to us and Strip Down Healing from Illusion. Here we are. And we go live every Wednesday. And so thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
So what is going on with you today? You have had quite the morning.
I have had quite the morning, even more than like, you know, because I was running around to my daughter's school advocating for her. Well, actually watching her advocate for herself. And then I was, of course, with my guy in the morning. And then I came here and then I went and met with my coach prior to jumping on here. So it's been a great morning. And for those of you who don't know, Michelle and I are both showing up in the world, doing the work on ourselves so that way we can show up as love in the world for other people who are doing the work or want to do the work on themselves, right?
Absolutely. And it's funny that you had your coach before. I have my coach after. So there we go.
Love it. I know. So I work in addiction recovery. And I also do motivational speaking, which I have a gig booked for Friday. And you do what, beautiful Michelle?
I do emotional liberation and dark shadow work and getting deep inside, digging out those hidden emotions so they don't creep up when you least expect it. Yeah, so you have more control. Giving that strength back to the person that deserves it, which is you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and so to that point,
yes,
earlier today, I went on and sang The Rose by Bette Midler on Facebook.
It was so good.
The reason why is because I bear witness to so many people who lack love, you know, and so often they're seeking that love externally, right? I did for years and years. I leaned into lots of addictive behaviors, striving for that love. But really when you start to do the work, and much of the work you do with people helps your clients, I'm sure, identify this as well, is it's the self-love that you really need to learn.
It's all you need, because when you have self-love, then that's when you project love. You walk into the room with your energy of love and everyone feels that love. Yep. And that's how we make the world a better place. And I think that that's part of the problem in today's world, is everyone is looking for those external answers, when in reality we have all the answers inside of us and no one realizes it.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a little part of people that realize it, but the roadmap to unearth that love, right? Because one, it's so individual. What I tell people all the time is my job's not to give you a program or a script. My job is to bear witness and love you enough until you love yourself, and witness you as you go through the muck, right? But there really isn't this guide. And so these beliefs and these habits and all of this shit that's been mucked onto us from the time we're born, from society and all that,
right,
kind of builds this film outside of love. And then even though you're longing for it, there's no clear path or understanding as to how to achieve that love.
Yeah. And it's funny, the other day, I think it was Monday's live, I talked about this and I was like, I've got a shovel. I've got muck boots. Like that, I see that as part of my role as a coach is to help people. Like I'm gonna grab the shovel. I can't identify it, I'm gonna help you identify it, but I will help you dig. I will help you dig and jump into the muck with you to help bring you back out and bring those emotions up so that you can process them and get rid of them. It's like getting rid of the weeds, right? Beautiful things cannot grow if the weeds are suffocating them. And it's the same thing with those deep emotions and the things we've been lugging around for so long.
Yeah. And I also think people need permission to they shouldn't, but they need permission to let go of old beliefs, right? It's like you hang on to something until somebody's like, well, does that make you feel good? No, then why keep hanging on? Oh, what do you mean? You can release it? Yeah, drop that. Let it go. You know, it does not serve you. You know?
Drop it like it's hot.
Yep.
Uh,
Drop it like it's hot. I'm just telling you.
no, I absolutely agree. And we're not chained
Nope.
to old belief systems that don't work for us any longer. And going on this emotional healing journey, going through the healing of the illusion, going through a spiritual journey, there's a lot of beliefs that have to be let go of
Yeah.
because they're just not serving me. If I'm cringing, if I'm reading something spiritual and I cringe, then that's not for me. And it's okay. It's okay to say, you know what? I love that this works for you, but this does not work for me. And it's okay to say that. And if need be, walk away from it. You can still respect what other people believe, but you don't have to dive in with them.
That's so true. It's interesting you say that. I'm an avid reader, and I picked up a book by a pretty prolific spiritual teacher.
Hmm.
I took it home and I had a negative visceral reaction to the book, like absolutely. And I didn't even read it. Like this wasn't even I picked up the book, started reading and be like, no. And what I realized was much of what this individual was teaching wasn't wrong. It was that I had already moved beyond where what he was teaching because there
Hmm.
is different levels of consciousness. So
Absolutely.
like what he was teaching was spot on, but I was not the right audience anymore because I had already dived in deeper, you
Yeah.
know. But something that you said, as coaches, we sit in the bucket with the shovel, right? I love
Hmm.
that. But
Hmm.
sometimes as a coach, our job is to call you on your bullshit.
Yeah.
And this week, I had to show a client a video on domestic violence, narcissism,
Hmm.
and what emotional abuse looks like. Because here's the thing, I work with people who are steeped in addiction and mental health issues, right?
Hmm.
So if they're not physically getting beat or if there's not violence in the home, and I see this a lot,
Yeah.
right? Then there's not that understanding that there's abuse going on. And so I pulled up a video, we watched it together, and then I said to, well, the two individuals, I said, as a coach, I'm not here to do talk therapy. I'm here to see you take action. And
Hmm.
if you can't take action towards self love, which means at least informing yourself. I don't care if you don't like move out or break up or whatever, but if you're not at least obtaining information that
Hmm.
can help make you make a different choice,
Hmm.
then I can't serve you anymore. And that to me is
Yeah.
coaching too. Because how can I sit and say I'm going to teach you self-love and then watch this unfolding of severe abuse take place?
Right.
Moreover, not only is it just impacting these two individuals, but if they have children, if they, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And so I really want to highlight that because it's really important that people understand the distinction, I think, between a
Mhm.
therapist and a coach. Don't get me wrong, we can talk and I can definitely
Mhm.
listen and hold space. But I'm also somebody who will give you that swift kick in the ass. And if you don't want to be held accountable, then I'm not your person.
Well, and you're exactly right. And you have to take radical responsibility and
Yes.
accountability. And you have to have radical acknowledgement of what you're sitting in. Because
Mhm.
if you don't acknowledge it and you don't know that it's a problem, you don't know what you're attempting to fix. You don't know what's broke.
Yeah.
I had watched, I don't know if you saw that show Made. Did you ever
Nope.
see that? So it's Made, MAID. And I turned it on. It just looked interesting. And I started watching it, and it was so much more than I expected. But this woman was basically in an emotional abusive relationship. It turned into somewhat physical, even though he never hit her. Uh, and it was so enlightening. And it made me realize how much emotional abuse I've gone through the years, like when I was a kid and with family, never realizing it was emotional abuse.
Mm.
And the moment that got me the most was when she finally she left. She took her kids, she left, and somebody at the safe house said, if this is read this, like it's if you're dealing with this. And she's like, yeah, but I didn't call the police, and it was just he was just mad. And she walks her through it, and she's like, you're being abused.
Yep.
But she didn't know that it could be non-physical, but it was still abuse.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that was an existential crisis right there for Miss Michelle, because I was like, oh, okay. And then at the end, something that I know will resonate with you as well, because she not only had a love life that was abusive, but her mother. And there was a moment where she says to her mom, this is your journey.
Yep.
I want to help you. I want to save you. I want to rescue you. But ultimately, I have now come to terms with this is your journey, and you have to do what's right for you.
Yeah. It's so
And
go ahead.
it was
Well,
no,
it's
it
so
was so
funny
good.
because you, one, you alluded to my mother. So, I mean, the
Yeah.
reality is my mother and I don't have a relationship for many reasons, but it's interesting. I don't want to save her. I don't feel the need to save her because I also think that we have to be ready for our
Hmm.
journey.
Hmm.
And if we're, and that's why, alluding to self love and on this day of love, right?
Hmm.
Really, I think it takes a real act of courage and love to hire somebody like you and me. I
Yeah,
really do because
absolutely.
to that point of awareness, you may not be aware that's true, but you
Mhm.
hired me to make sure that you are aware. And even in that, if just say my
Mhm.
client after going through whatever we
Mhm.
did on Monday said, I'm not ready to work with you. That's okay because you hired me for the time you needed to get the awareness you needed to sit in that awareness and then eventually
Right.
because you can't once once that nut has been cracked, so to speak, you can't go back.
No, you can't.
Meaning I knew I mean, what I knew at like 16 years old, I was being abused and I knew I had to leave. I didn't leave for years, but I knew. And
Yeah.
it's like once you have that realization, it's just a matter of time. It could
Yeah.
be a month, it could be 10 years, but you can't stay in that because, interestingly enough, the universe won't let you. It will continuously bombard you with situations that will force you to reconcile what it is
Right.
you don't want to face.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and bringing up the moms, I have a relationship with my mom we can have great days and we can have not great days. And I'm I've learned how to take a step back because I've released my responsibility. To a point, I still have my moments because I know certain
Because you
people
need
watching this are probably going, yeah, right, exactly. And it's always been that feeling from childhood of I'm responsible. Like I have to be responsible. And I don't. And I can release that and be free from that. And that's been a journey that I'm still on. That
yeah,
I'm still on. I mean, I can be honest. And as far as the coaching piece, I've noticed, and I'm sure you have too, from what you're saying, you're alluding to it. They'll grab a shovel and they'll say, "Yeah, I'm ready," and they'll make the investment, right? But then they do a surface level dig. Like we're not burying a goldfish. There's like a freaking elephant in the room that we need to bury, and we need to dig a hole big enough for that, and we need to get the emotions and all the shit out of it so that it'll fit in there and then be done, right? And process it. But then again, it's never done, is it? Because there's always the other levels that we have
yeah,
to go down, the
yep.
layers.
Well,
It's
go ahead.
no, no, no. Go ahead.
So I want to, since mom got brought up,
We love moms. We're moms.
I'm a mom, yeah. But so I was thinking about this the other day. I have nothing but immense respect and admiration and love for my mother because so she had her own struggles, but for a really, eh, for years, for a good amount of time, I saw her fight tenaciously and insatiably. And I think that when she could no longer fight, I picked up that fight and continued it. And so
Mhm.
without her educating me and me actually, and interestingly enough, I got to witness this woman work her ass off on her mental health, right? But sometimes you only go so far in your journey and then you just are not in a place where you can go any further. And I think she just kind of met that place, and that's okay because in the time of her fight, in the time
Mhm.
where she really was in a place where she advocated and worked towards loving herself, I was at the most impressionable ages and I was able to be a witness. And so I have always had that lens of, even if I'm in suffering, I will gain an immense amount of resilience and strength. And so I
Mhm.
am very appreciative about that from my mom, even though in this moment in time, I refuse to engage with her other than sit in this very chair in meditation and send her unconditional love, which I do every day,
Yeah.
because that to me is more profound and impactful than engaging in physical contact with her, which could then create negative energy and karma that I don't want on either one of us's experience moving
Mhm.
forward. So,
And that is such a huge point, especially today, the day of celebrating love, is that you can still love from afar.
oh, I love her. Yeah.
You can still love from afar. And if there is somebody in your life that is toxic, and to save yourself, you have to step back to have the life that you want, that you know you deserve. Loving from afar is okay.
Mhm.
Setting boundaries. I had a client one time, and her whole family, it was so bad every time she'd be with them at holiday, what have you. She went in. I was so proud of her. She sat down at Thanksgiving and she dealt with what she could deal with. And then mid meal, when she had enough, she got up and she said, "Thank you all for dinner. I'm done. I've had enough. It's time for me to go." And she got up and she left. Didn't argue, didn't fight. She just knew what she was willing to sit through for how long. And when it got to be to the point where she just didn't want to do it anymore, she finally got up. Thank you. See you later. It was great. And left. And I was like, yes, you had the strength to do it. And she did it for herself. And I think
Yep.
that's so important because it's another thing as far as coaching. There's that line. We can bring them to the water. We can point their head in the right way, but we can't stick their head in the water and force them to swallow. We just can't make them drink. So I was so happy that she did that.
Yeah.
That she was able to do that. But loving from afar it's okay.
Well, it's not only is it okay, it's actually for me
Mhm.
a much greater way to love because again, think about it. You know, I am not engaged in any situations in which my ego could be stirred, which I
Mhm.
work really hard to come from a place of love always, and then operate from fear. And when you operate from fear or old conditioning, right? Old patterns of behavior, when you operate from that place, you're inevitably wounding yourself and the other person. And really, since we are all connected, you're wounding.
Everybody.
Yeah. And so to me, it's not even a question of is it the right thing to do? I feel it's my absolute moral obligation as
Mhm.
somebody who is as conscious as I am now to make sure that I sit in a space of unconditional love. And
Right.
if I can't, I will not engage in any type of situation. And so where your client went, I was there 20 years ago and I commend her because I remember what it's like to get up from the table and walk away.
Yeah.
Now, I would never get my ass to that table in the first place. I'd be
Yeah.
eating a turkey dinner by myself in front of the TV if it meant that I could stay in love and peace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important. As a kid, we had family members that would disown us.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean, I remember that my mom was the black sheep of the family, therefore I was because I was the daughter of. And listen, I like you love and absolutely respect my mom. She has her own challenges. She had to raise me alone. Like there's a plethora of things that, went on that were just crazy and some were from bad decisions. And but anyway, we would be disowned. So it was this on again, off again relationship with a family. And it's like, wait, but are we loved or are we not loved? Because
Mm,
it would be turned off like a power switch. Let me switch it off for this occasion, but then we're going to switch it back on. And it was like I didn't understand it. I
yeah,
didn't understand it growing up. And when I had my kids, I basically swore off all those that were like slinkies in my life. I was just like, I'm or a bungee cord. I'm done. Like I'm done. You're either in or you're out, but the in and out isn't gonna happen.
yeah,
It's just because it was hurtful. It was hurtful to walk in a mall and see your family and for them to completely ignore you and having to forgive and let live. Um, because that was their journey and that was how they learned to love and what had to happen to them to get them to that point. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's just we sometimes I think that we're so quick to judge. Observation is different, right? And making a judgment on is this a safe situation for me, that's different. But people do bad things, but people are not good or bad. They're just human. And if they're doing bad things, what had to happen to them to create that in them?
yeah. And it's so funny because for me, I can't even put it, I don't even believe people do bad things, right? I don't, because here's the thing.
Mhm.
How do I know? And how do you know? Like, we
Right.
truly don't know. So if you and I sit and say that we believe in a universe that
Mhm.
is creates imperfection, then
Mhm.
how can we possibly know why things are the way they are? And so I personally
Mhm.
strive really, really hard not to use good or bad. And the reason why is because good and bad
Mhm.
inherently have what attached to it? Judgment.
Right.
And that
Absolutely.
that takes
Absolutely.
away the place of observation. So I can observe
Mhm.
that this person is wounding a child, and I can step in as somebody who cannot like watch that and not take action.
Mhm.
But I'm not gonna, it's not for me to say it's good or bad. I'm just gonna do what I personally feel I need to do in that moment and witness that that wouldn't be something that I'm okay with, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know what's good or bad because in this universe, we have to have light and dark. Like, I don't
Yeah.
agree, I don't understand, but it is the balance of yin and yang. It's a white wolf, good. It's a white wolf, black wolf. It's
Mhm.
seriously just which one you feed. And you and I, as
Yeah.
coaches, doing the work on ourselves, choose to feed the white wolf. That's
Mhm.
really the only difference. And most people aren't taught how to feed the white wolf. And so they're stuck in this habit of feeding
Mhm.
the black wolf because that is the conditioning of society. Like, I guarantee
Well.
you, I get pushed back all the time. Well, how can you say there's not good or bad? Look, I'm a two-time rape survivor. I get it, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm a product of rape. Okay. My mother went through stuff like that. So I get it, but like, again, I don't know the experience that those people went through to have them caught, like, take me through that. And I would not change one iota of my life, not one moment, because it's made me who I am today. And I absolutely love myself. Love myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. No. Absolutely. Because I would not change. Not a moment.
Yeah.
Not a moment. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point, and a lot of work. And here's the one thing that I will say, and yeah, I totally agree with your point on the good and bad. But like abuse, we know that that's not good, right? It's from a place of fear. That person had to have been raised with fear. They are fear. They are fear. I don't think that not feeding the black wolf is ultimately the right way to go. I Because what happens when you don't feed something? It becomes rampant, it becomes angry, it becomes desperate, and it craves attention and it craves food. Giving it some attention in the sense of diving into those dark shadows, that's where I'm coming from with that. Is you've got to pay attention to the black wolf. You have to, because otherwise it's going to come back and it's going to bite you in the ass. Because
Well,
that's,
yeah.
to feed. And so you've got to, in order to balance it, I think you have to embrace the black wolf, but feed your white wolf more. Give the attention to the black wolf it needs to heal it. And but you got to embrace it. You got to bring it in, because they're both you. They're
Yep.
both you. And when we deny that part of ourselves, then I don't think we can truly love ourselves.
I would agree with you. I think what we resist persists. So if I mean, I'm trying to, like, okay, really good example, right?
Right.
You've seen Nana, okay? Homeboy he's a black Greek god. And he does modeling and stuff. And there have been moments for sure where I have been in ego, like in envy, because he has his picture out there, he does all this underwear modeling and stuff. So do I bear witness to that quote unquote black wolf, like that fear, that insecurity? for sure.
Mhm.
Do I nurture it and love it? Absolutely. But the bigger question I always ask is, what is it that I'm not getting for myself that is causing that to stir up in me? And then what do I need to be able to nurture myself so that no longer
Mhm.
is present at all? Like I get to pick it out, you know?
Mhm.
And and so that's a good example of
Yeah.
I embrace it, but I'm not the person who's like, "Oh, Nana, you can't do underwear modeling. You can't go out with girls on Friday night. You can't." That to me is
Mhm.
feeding the black wolf, right?
Mhm.
Is that's saying not only am I gonna feel this, but I'm also gonna take action and like put that like gasoline on the fire. Whereas instead I come from a place of curiosity and then really nurture myself and ask myself what it is I need in that moment. And in doing that, what am I doing? I'm feeding the white wolf
Yeah.
because now I'm taking what feels icky and sticky and could potentially be a catastrophic choice, right? Because a
Mhm.
lot of people, both men and women, pop off in envy and insecurity in relationships.
Yeah.
Right? And that, how does that result? You know, that results in lack of trust and stuff. Or I could nurture myself. And to go a step further, where Nana and I are at in our relationship is not only do I nurture myself and stuff, I'll tell him, hey, babe, I was in a moment of real insecurity. You know,
Mhm.
I'm 43, you're 34, you have this body, I've had 2 kids, I'm feeling a little something. It's not your job to take care of me, but I want to be true, you know, transparent in the fact that in this moment I'm
Right.
feeling vulnerable. And my ability to share that with him is all I need. He doesn't need to stroke my ego. He doesn't
Right.
need to say, babe, I love you. The fact that I can share that is enough. And so that I guess for me is the best explanation I can say is how I feed my white wolf and don't give power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you don't want your black wolf in the lead. You want your white wolf to be leading. The black wolf can be there and you can
And teach
acknowledge
you.
it. Right.
And
And
teach you.
teach you. Right. So when I was a kid, I went through boyfriends like and not necessarily sexually, but I went through boyfriends like potato chips. Like I I would break up with them before they could leave me.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, that was me. My girlfriends would beg me, "Please don't tell him you have a crush on him. We like him as a friend. Like don't smush him." That was me because all men, my dad, everybody, to me, my impression was that they left me, right? That I was left. So when my husband and I met, I had sworn off. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I need a break. And then I meet this guy and he persisted and it called me before I got home the night that we met and was so patient. And it was like he knew how to manage my insecurities.
Mm,
And so it helped me learn how to trust because every time there was a fight, oh my God, it's over. He's breaking up with me. It's done. Because that was where I was coming from, because that's what I was expecting. And so he nurtured the part of me that and helped build confidence in me. And here we are 34 years later. It's taken me a long time, probably until I was in my 40s, mid 40s. And we got married at 20, like I was 21. So it took over 20 years for me to finally understand that a fight is a fight or an argument. It's not the end.
yeah.
It's just something that happens. It's okay. But it takes when you grow up and you have the in and out of love and the switch on and off, you learn, you come to expect that. And that's the part that you got to heal. Those are the shadows and the emotions that have to be dug up.
Do you think, from my perspective, I think more families grow up that way than in healthy, right? Because like the same thing for me. I'll never forget. I'm at my great grandfather's wake, and my grandfather walks over with this woman and introduces my little sister as his only granddaughter because I was adopted by my dad, right? He could not, but it was just now, granted, that was great because it gave me like that was my breaking point for me to be like, dude, you're not a kind man. But I just remember being on eggshells all the time, and I watch and I witness and I see this all the time, especially in my daughter's friends.
Yes.
Like I see that same. I'm gonna love you. I'm not gonna love you. I'm gonna love you. I'm not gonna love you. You did this. I'm not. And I'm just like, how? No wonder people don't love themselves because if you do not show up as this pretty package of
Mhm.
whatever that individual expects you to be, and right, it changes depending on the family member, then you're then punished and condemned. And then you wonder why we have all of these people who, one, don't know themselves, two, don't
Mhm.
even know they're worthy of love because they don't even know that they really shouldn't have to do anything for that love.
Right. Because they don't know that they're worthy.
Yep.
They don't know that they're worthy because that's what they grew up to believe, and that's another one of those big limiting beliefs that have to go out. It
Yeah.
has to be dug up and it has to be tossed out because it's just not true. Everybody deserves love. That's why we were created, is to live in love.
Love and joy. And that's why it goes back to what you were saying about your client. Now, granted, again, guys, we all have journeys and we all have levels. And so 20 years ago, I was exactly where that client was. Like
Mhm.
mere fact that I got up from the table
Mhm.
was enough. But because of my understanding, you mentioned spirituality. For all of those out there who aren't spiritual, right? I always go back to science, energy. If we know that love, joy exists on a higher energetic vibration, that
Mhm.
that we transmit a higher frequency in those experiences, right? I would be remiss if I made choices, like if I didn't protect that. So, a lot of people, I'll give you a good example. Nana is doing he's doing this, well, I don't know, physique competition, and I went
Mhm.
in with him to one of these training on body postures. The anxiety that filled that room. I mean, these are all people who have worked their asses off to build these physiques, but I could feel it was palpable. And I looked at Nana, I'm like, this is a you thing, boo, not me. I'm out of here because it didn't feel good. I'm like, I'm not absorbing this crap. I'm like saging myself. And then I said to him, the saddest thing is these people have worked, put in hours to sculpt their bodies, and yet none of them have sculpted their internal landscape. And so they look beautiful, but they're big hot messes on the inside. And I'm the worst person to be around because I'm be like, oh, you anxiety. Oh. I'm like, meh, not it, babe. I'm out.
Oh my gosh. And okay, so I was talking to a client the other day about green flags and red flags.
Yes.
Goes right along with this. You walked in and there were red flags everywhere and you were like, I'm out.
Yep.
And how many times do we search out for the red flags? And so what I was saying was, start looking at the green flag. Like, start looking like an Easter egg hunt. Start looking for the green flags. Like, especially when you have a bad relation or you're unhappy with the relationship. How many clients have you had that have come to you with something like that, like, I'm just unhappy with work, or I'm unhappy with this, I'm unhappy with that? What are the green flags that you can look at, that you can hone in on, even about yourself, instead of going, oh, I hate my body, I hate this, I hate that, I hate this, the haters? Let's look at the green flags.
Yeah.
What do you love about yourself, or what do you love about your partner? What do you love about your job? What can you see, even with a narcissistic sociopath boss? What are the, green flags instead of just the red? Because if you focus on the green, you're gonna attract more green. If you
Yeah, it's
focus
true.
on the red. And so this group of these, very dedicated people that are working out and they look so good, what would happen? What would happen if they looked at themselves and looked at all of those green flags?
I know. I know. But to the point earlier, all right, I am high. So here's the thing that, I want our audience to really understand. We are all energy enmeshed in each other, right?
Yep.
This does not separate you and me. Right?
Right.
I could literally get into meditation and know the exact thing to send you on the exact day when you needed that exact message. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So I have the ability and the understanding and wherewithal to decipher my energy from
Hmm.
other people's energy.
Right.
Most people don't have that skill. That took me years to dial in. In fact, I'm working
Absolutely.
with one of my clients on that. So it's really critically important that you understand if it doesn't feel good, don't ask why. You don't have to know why. I was able to
Hmm.
recognize people were anxiety. But what if you walk in and you're just like, "Ugh."
Get out.
Yeah. And I think too
Get out.
often, and I see this, and I totally agree with you. We have to look for the green flags within ourselves,
Mhm.
within our relationships, if for no other reason than you can break that relationship from a place of love rather than anger and fear, right? But even more importantly, you have to be okay with not understanding why, but knowing this does not serve me. And I do not need to try to figure out where
Mhm.
there's a green flag. I'm going to get the hell out of Dodge. So that way, maybe then after I've shaken off that feeling and celebrated myself for um,
Mhm.
being able to leave, then I can figure out that green flag and where it's coming from. Because otherwise, I'm going to be entangled in a mess and I cannot differentiate. I can't from the energy.
And you're gonna have all that energy just sucking your energy out, and you're not gonna be able to function the right way.
Absolutely.
I think it is important to acknowledge, or at least look at, if you're working on social anxiety and you are pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and it doesn't feel right, that is different than walking into a situation that feels completely wrong. And so I do think that taking a step back in the moment and just getting curious and going, okay, is this my, and here's the different the discernment. You recognize that it wasn't you, it wasn't your energy, it was their energy.
Absolutely.
So it was, I gotta go
Yep.
because I don't want to dip into that, versus it being your fear, your energy of walking in going, this feels really uncomfortable, and I just want to go back into my comfort zone and feel safe, and I don't want to expand, and then you run out the door. That's a completely different environment, or situation, because that's your energy that you're bringing into it, not their energy. So knowing, being able, and that, oh my gosh, that takes a lot to really hone into.
Yep.
But it's something that you can ask yourself really quickly when you're in a situation. Is this mine? Is this mine? That's it. Is this mine? If not, get out. If it's yours, then, maybe get out and then address it, or push yourself and see what may come of it, because it may be the best thing ever. It just
Oh,
depends.
it does depend. I think when it comes to self-love though, I mean,
Hmm.
if we're talking about social anxiety,
Hmm.
that's I mean, it's the same, but it's kind of a different topic in that you're going into a situation that is going to stretch and push you, right?
Hmm.
So that one would hope, again,
Hmm.
that that the individual is prepared to be able to nurture themselves and ask them questions and do breath work or tapping or all of the things that can help them with that. But specifically for me, for self-love, for not absorbing energy so that I can stay in joy,
Mhm.
that's different. And yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
absolutely unapologetic about that. But I also, I've worked incredibly hard, so I don't have that struggle with social anxiety. I did at
Mhm.
one point, and so that's not where I ever come from that place.
Mhm. Well, no, and I what I was talking about was like, you know, one of my kids social anxiety, and there were times as a mom where I was like, "No, you're going to go anyway. Like
Mm,
you're going." I didn't know back then that they needed techniques and methods and I should have been working with them. I didn't know. And if I had known back then what I know now, maybe things would be different. But again, we're not regretting where we are now because all of those moments made us who we are today. But can I use that to teach lessons to other people who might be struggling with the same type of situation? So if I'm working with a mom and they say, "Yeah, my kid doesn't want to do this," or "My kid wants to quit school and go or, switch from going in, to school in person to online," I can let them know like, "Hey, it's not your journey. If your kid's not going to be this and that, it's okay. How can you support them? How can you love them without bringing your shit into it and just love them for who they are and acknowledge that?" And so I think that being able to take those lessons, not in judgment, but to take those lessons and go, "Okay, how can I apply it to help other people?" I think that's what we're all here for. And I know that's a huge part of why we both became coaches, is to bring those lessons forward.
and we would not have the wealth of wisdom that we come from if
Right.
both you and I didn't push our kids to go to school through anxiety, and then learning about social anxiety and then moving in a different direction. But again, that goes to the beauty of this conversation around self-love in the first place and helps tie it in a nice little bow is we are all individuals.
Mhm.
And we definitely need to start to get curious about what serves us as individuals
Yeah.
in any given moment, whether that's me, sharing my experience about Nana with him or leaving a situation that doesn't serve me
Mhm.
or teaching my children, right? That's my experience. But I come from awareness. I come from
Yeah.
curiosity. And if you're not coming from a place of curiosity, you're limiting your ability to love yourself because you
Right.
don't know the expansiveness and just how vast your experience can be because you're stuck in limited thinking. Like that's just the reality of it.
Because you're not accepting who you really are. There's parts of you haven't tapped into that you don't even know.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing of the self-discovery and the digging is you get to go into the depths of who you are and you get to love yourself anyway
Yep.
because you can now love yourself fully. So many people go and they buy books and they watch a video or they watch a TED talk and they're like, "I'm doing the work." It's like, no, this is hard work and it's not just a week, it's not just a month, it's not just a book. You have to go into it deeper and deeper because it's going to keep coming up. It's a cycle and you got to break that cycle because it's going to keep showing up till you learn it and you acknowledge it and you accept it, and then you can decide to do things differently.
Yep. And what feels right for you.
Right.
And when you really love yourself, you can agree to disagree. on
Yeah.
topics. You can be okay with people completely disliking you.
Oh,
You can be okay with people loving you and not taking that on, which I think is even a more profound lesson that I had to learn, is not to stay attached to the good that people saw in me. Because what's the difference between that and worrying about whether somebody dislikes me? It's the same side of two
it
coins, right?
is.
At the end of the day, you're still striving for external validation.
Absolutely. Instead of just thinking about yourself and giving yourself that validation. I'm good because I know I'm good, because I feel it. I feel my energy. I feel my light. But if you can't tap into it, then you don't know it. And then that brings us back to you don't know yourself.
Yep, it's true. So for anybody watching, Michelle and I would love to hear your thoughts on any of the
Really.
topics we talked about. And please feel free to disagree with us, because I love when people give me a different perspective to consider, and or just share your truth, because at the end of the day, your truth is right for you, and that's pretty powerful, especially when you share it.
Right. And that's the other thing with coaching. When we have clients, if there's a topic that they're not ready to work on, a piece of them that that's okay. All right, we can work on these others at some point. I hope we dive into this, because this is going to keep coming up, and we can maybe highlight that and help them look in the mirror and see that. But it's not us directing the show.
Hmm.
We're just helping them see. And I think I love doing that. I love walking with them to the mirror and really helping them see themselves and the beauty within,
Yeah.
even through all the cracks.
Well, I mean, the cracks are what you get to pave with gold, right?
Yeah, that's how the gold shines through.
Absolutely.
So, Kerri, how can people find you?
You can reach me at KerriLewis.Coach. You can find me on social media, KerriLewis.Coach. I have a community supporting people with having the tough conversations, sharing your truth in all things mental and physical wellness. And pretty soon I'll be on a radio near you.
Can't wait to hear more about that. So, I'm looking forward to that.
What about you, gorgeous Michelle?
I am at mokshagrace.com. And you can find me all over social media at Moksha Grace. And I also have a community, Calm the Chaos, which is just a group of people that want to know how to calm their chaos down so that they can find more peace within. So, yeah, just keep tuning in, keep watching Kerri and I as we go through different topics. We look forward to, I love, love, love Wednesdays.
Yeah, we have
'Cause
great
I
time.
get to see you.
And I get to have good conversation and connect with like-minded people, because our producer
Yeah.
uh, is amazing. We love her, and we get to have conversation with her too. So thank you for
Yes.
always enlightening my heart, Krista. I appreciate you immensely.
Yes, absolutely. I adore that woman.
I love it. So can we leave with this, guys?
Yes.
You gotta, I pray that you do some type of act of self-loving kindness for you today, so that way, even if you don't completely know how to love yourself, you know what it's like to feel like you have the power to nurture and care for yourself, because at the end of the day, that's really what love is about. When you love yourselves, you really can show up as love in the world.
Yeah. And I will say to everybody, happy Valentine's Day, day of love. Love on yourself, love on the people around you, love in nature, go outside, look for cardinals and dragonflies and snowmen wherever you are. Just be in love and give yourself that gift today of just letting the love out.
Until next time, guys.